The night was unnaturally quiet around the old house, the kind of silence that made even the faintest sound feel louder than it should be. A dim porch lamp flickered weakly, casting uneven shadows across the walls. Inside, everything seemed still, peaceful, almost deceptively calm. A shadow moved near the side of the house. Jungkook, dressed in black, his hood pulled low and mask hiding his face. He stood near the window, his eyes scanning every corner carefully. His movements were slow, precise, calculated. He pushed the window open just enough, the faint creak barely audible in the stillness of the night. Without hesitation, he slipped inside. The room he entered was dark, the curtains drawn, the air carrying the faint scent of old wood and time. Jungkook landed silently, his shoes making no sound against the floor. He straightened his gaze, immediately sharpening as he listened. Nothing, no movement, no disturbance, just silence. He stepped forward, each step measured, each breath controlled. The hallway stretched ahead of him, dimly lit by a faint light seeping from under one of the doors. Jungkook's eyes locked onto its side instantly. He didn't need to think, that was the room. He walked towards it, his hand slowly reaching for the dark doorknob. For a brief second, he paused, his fingers resting against it, his grip tightening just slightly. Then he pushed it open. The door creaked faintly. Inside, an old man lay asleep on the bed, his chest rising and falling slowly, completely unaware of the presence that had just entered his room. The dim light from the bedside lamp cast soft shadows across his face, making him look harmless, peaceful. Jungkook stood at the doorway, watching him. His eyes cold, unblinking, studied the man carefully. Peacefully, Jungkook muttered under his breath, his voice low, almost emotionless as he stepped inside the room and closed the door quietly behind him. He walked closer, step by step, until he stood right beside the bed. Looking down at him, for a moment he just stared, his gaze hardened, memories flickered behind his eyes. The past, the pain, the helplessness. His fingers curled slightly. Then the old man stood, his brows furrowed as his eyes slowly opened, confusion clouding his expression as he tried to adjust to the dim light. Who are you? He asked weakly, his voice groggy, his hand moving slightly as he tried to push himself up. Jungkook didn't answer. He didn't even blink. The man squinted, trying to see through the darkness. What are you doing in my... He stopped mid-sentence because something in Jungkook's silence felt wrong. Jungkook stepped closer. You don't remember me, he said quietly, his voice calm, almost eerily steady, his head tilting slightly as if studying him. The old man's confusion deepened, fear slowly creeping into his eyes. I don't know who you are, he said, his voice trembling slightly as he shifted back against the bed. Jungkook's eyes darkened. Exactly, he whispered, his tone golden now, his gaze piercing. A brief silence filled the room. Then everything happened quickly, too quickly, when Jungkook suddenly stabbed in his neck with an injection. The old man's voice cut off abruptly. The room felt silent again. Completely still, Jungkook stood there for a second longer, his breathing steady, his expression unchanged as he looked down at this now emotionless figure. It ends tonight, he murmured under his breath, his voice barely audible. Without wasting another second, he moved, his lips firm, his movements efficient. He grabbed old man's leg and pulled him down with a thud. Then, by his leg, Jungkook started dragging him, lifting, working with practiced precision. Moments later, the window stood open again, and outside, Jin was already there, leaning casually against the car, arms crossed. Looking completely out of place in the middle of something so dark, the faint glow of the streetlight reflected off his face as he looked up, noticing Jungkook. took you long enough," Jin said with a small smirk, pushing himself off the car as he stepped forward. His tone light, almost even, despite the situation. Jungkook didn't respond, he just climbed down. Jin glanced at the unconscious man and let out a smirk. No whistle. "Wow, he looks even older up close," he muttered, shaking his head slightly as he crouched down briefly, inspecting him with a casual curiosity. "Careful," Jin added with a faint chuckle, nudging lightly. "He might break before you even start," he joked dryly, his lips curling into small grin. Jungkook shot him a cold look. Jin raised his hands slightly in mock surrender. All right," he said, still smiling faintly as he stood up again, brushing imaginary dust off his hands. Together they moved quickly, loading the man into the back seat with practiced ease. Jungkook slid into passenger seat without a word, pulling the door shut as his eyes remained fixed ahead, his expression unreadable. Jin got into the driver's seat, adjusting the mirror slightly before starting the engine. The car hummed to life, breaking the silence of the night. But before driving off, Jim pulled out his phone. He tapped the screen and brought it to his ear, his expression shifting into something more serious. "Everything's clear?" he asked calmly, his tone low, his fingers tapping lightly against the steering wheel. A girl's voice came from the other side, confident and steady. "Relax, Oppa," she said, a faint hint of pride in her tone. "Street cameras nearby feeds everything sandbag. Nobody saw anything," she added, her voice smooth, assured. Jim smiled slightly. "That's why I like working with you," he replied, his tone lingering, lightening again as he leaned back slightly in his seat. "Just don't mess up your part," she teased back, a soft chuckle escaping her before the line went quiet. Jin entered the car, tossing the phone onto the dashboard. He glanced at Jungkook. "Everything's clear," he said, his tone calm, his hands gripping the steering wheel as he shifted the car into motion. Jungkook didn't look at him. He just stared ahead, his eyes distressed. "Drive," he said quietly. "This was cool, final." Jin nodded once and pressed the accelerator. The car disappeared into the empty road, heading towards a place where everything was already waiting.